On this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq, coalition and Iraqi forces team up for medical training. And a reconstruction team in Haditha looks to make a difference. Don't miss these stories and more on today's FJI. Hello, I'm Air Force Sergeant Braden Smith. Welcome to this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq. The final exam for the medic course in the Iraqi Army is supposed to push the students' limits. But instructors often find themselves short on training aids. Army Sergeant Mike Daly reports that with some help from their U.S. Army advisors and a little ingenuity, students at the Division Training Center are being thoroughly tested.
At first glance, this looks like complete confusion. But these Iraqi Army medic students are being put to the test with a mass casualty exercise. It's the culmination of their 5-week-long basic medics course.
They get, issues getting some supplies.
Sergeant Jose Viruet knows the Iraqi Army doesn't have sophisticated training aids. He lent the course a hand by designing fake wounds out of papier-mâché and cloth.
Trying to help these guys get a real taste of what will be to treat a wound in a real mass casualty exercise.
Putting together the fake injuries was a tough job, but the next hardest thing was to pick out some actors and coach them. A handful of Janud, or soldiers, from a basic training course learned their roles according to what injury they were issued. Coaching completed, the test was on, as the injured limped and hobbled to the clinic where the medic students were waiting.
They got a sucking chest wound.
Sergeant Viruet only advises the course instructors, but he makes sure they stick to the class outline and that the students are tested. Even with room for improvement, course instructors were pleased with the outcome.
They did a great job.
The students themselves hope their skills will serve them well after they graduate.
I hope we can help in our civilian life and also in military life to save people's life.
Reporting from the Division Training Center in Hammam al-Alil, Iraq, this is Army Staff Sergeant Mike Daly.
Iraqi instructors are taking over the training with less help from advisors. They hope their continued progress will better prepare their students before they head out to the battlefield. 2 years ago, Anbar was said to be the most violent province in Iraq. Today, thanks to the hard work and sacrifices of coalition and Iraqi forces, it has become a model for the rest of Iraq. In the last year, violence in Anbar province has dropped 80 to 90%. This is the result of the dedication Marines put forth in the area every day. One Marine intelligence officer says current progress is similar to a flower growing in the middle of the desert that's just beginning to bud. That progress is important because a reduction in violence means their country's economic state will likely improve soon. Reaching that point in Anbar province has meant the Marines Regimental Combat Team 1 have had to risk their lives every day to ensure their area of operations is secure, and they'll be doing just that until they leave. Marines in Anbar province say there are 3 steps to success. First, they want to establish a government based on the determination of the Iraqi people. Second, that government has to be legitimate. And third, they have to allow the transition of power to provincial Iraqi control. Coming up, reconstruction teams in Haditha making progress one street at a time.
Here's your raid report. The Iraqi Border Patrol detained a suspected terrorist and recovered 2 weapons caches west of Tal Afar. The suspect is identified as a member of the Islamic State of Iraq, a front organization for al-Qaeda in Iraq. Iraqi Army and coalition soldiers found a number of caches in Baghdad. The caches contained various weapons, ammunition, mortar charges, and various uniform items. The Iraqi Army captured a suspected cell leader of the Islamic State of Iraq in Mosul. The cell leader is believed to be responsible for transporting weapons, emplacing improvised explosive devices, and conducting IED attacks against coalition forces. Iraqi Army soldiers, Iraqi National Police, and U.S. soldiers seized 8 weapons caches around Baghdad. The caches contained weapons, ammunition, mortar rounds, and grenades. And that's your raid report. I'm Petty Officer Patrick Dilley.
Here are the latest Operation Iraqi Freedom headlines. The Secretary General of the Council of Ministers said unemployment in Iraq has dropped, but a surplus of educated labor remains. Investors from European and Asian nations are rushing into Iraq as security improves, and they're outpacing their U.S. counterparts. At least $1 billion is expected to be invested in Iraq this year. The Mason province governor and a Sadr aide said Sadr followers in Amara will not resist efforts to assert government authority unless Iraqi security forces make arrests without warrants or commit human rights violations. Iraq's deputy speaker said Iraq's Council of Representatives will move its sessions outside the international zone this fall. Those are your headlines from around the region. I'm Airman First Class Shaylin Jordan.
An embedded provincial reconstruction team who works with Regimental Combat Team 5 toured the busy streets of Haditha, looking for progress on every alley, store, and market area. Our next report documents the EPRT team and shows how Haditha is thriving thanks to the efforts of coalition and Iraqi forces.
2 years ago, the market in Haditha was closed, and people were not able to win the streets safely.
We haven't done anything on microcredit.
Tell that to Sam.
EPRT makes regular visits to Haditha to check on the progress of the city and the people.
Good luck.
The market area, once closed because of insurgent activity, is now open for business to locals and visitors.
Good. Yeah, this one. Sam, ask him where these fruits and vegetables come from, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
They're from Beige.
I'm good. Glad to see some local product.
Yeah.
Thanks to the efforts of EPRT and coalition forces, the city of Haditha is now thriving.
In June of last year, President Bush spoke about the provincial reconstruction teams in country and said they're responsible for bringing the military and civilian experts together to help local Iraqi communities pursue reconciliation and speed up their transition to Iraqi self-reliance. Haditha is just one such example. U.S. soldiers provide humanitarian aid in villages throughout Iraq. Army Sergeant Jessica Wilson tells us how the troops are lending a helping hand to those who need it most.
Soldiers from LSA and Akonda visit Kragul to distribute toys and school supplies, as well as care for a few of the locals' ailments. Captain John Wayne Lindsay says that the locals' overall health is poor, so setting up a small medical clinic to treat minor ailments is important.
The nutrition is bad, and then on top of that, they're drinking out of these canals without treated water. Until I could get their water treated, I'm going to continue to bring the medical assistance whenever it's available, and whenever Iraqi doctors or PAs or maybe nurses could come down and help us. We'll continue to do that until we get the water fixed. Part of our job here is secure the population here in the area. Secure the population kind of encompasses a lot of stuff. Keeps the roads clear, keeps people safe in their towns, but also keeps people safe just doing day-to-day operations, just living their lives. If they can't do it healthy, they can't be safe.
First Lieutenant Damian Barano says that while they were there, they wanted to show the locals that the U.S. cares about their health.
While we were there, we just wanted to help out the locals and show that we cared about them and wanted to provide some medical care. So we handed out some Band-Aids and some bandages, saw a couple burned kids, treated some headaches, just very minor stuff to show the local nationals that we care about them. They brought up some concern that they would like a clinic set up in their area, so I'm going to go do some research and paperwork and investigate what we need to do to possibly build a medical clinic and get that recognized by Ministry of Health.
Missions like this help secure Iraq and shine a positive light on the U.S. military.
I'd say these missions do specifically win the hearts and minds of family-oriented, good, natural people. The bad guys, they see this as another tactic, to try to win the war. But for the good average Iraqi citizen, yes, this is a great mission that tries to win their heart and minds. And in turn, they give us the support that we need to continue our mission.
I'm Army Sergeant Jessica Wilson with the 215th MPAD, reporting for the 316th Expeditionary Sustainment Command.
And that wraps up this edition of our program. Be sure to log on to mnf-iraq.com, where you can learn all about the progress coalition forces are making throughout the country. If you have story ideas, we'd love to hear them. Just email us at fji@iraq.centcom.mil. From all of us here at AFN and Freedom Journal Iraq, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.